Good morning, everyone. I know everyone is logging on now. We will start in just a few moments and talk about some new updates. The biggest update for the PPP program is specific to today's the last day. So we are going to be inviting Marcella Hurley and Lisa Clausen to join us here from the SBA to answer your questions. And as you're logging in, if you would like to ask a question, again, this is your time to ask your specific questions for your business. What's going on? Go ahead and put those in the chat or in the Q&A, and we will get those answered. So welcome, everyone. My name is Michelle Kane. I am the director of the SDCEO, the Women's Business Center. There are about 120 women's business centers across the nation. There is one in South Dakota, and our office is located on the campus at Black Hills State University in Spearfish, and we serve the entire state of South Dakota. So our mission is to help women launch new ventures, help them grow their business, or help them pivot during this new world of work. This new world of selling products, this new way of thinking and of working. So we are here to help you. I will put my contact information in the chat, and you can set up a free and confidential one-on-one meeting with me and talk about your business or talk about your new ideas. So we are here to help. I'd also like to introduce Wendy Klug, who is the program manager for VBOC of the Dakotas. Wendy.
Good morning. First thing I'm going to say is please excuse the very unprofessional lighting. I'm sitting at my kitchen table today. As you know, our world has been flipped upside down and my lighting is not the best. I promise you I do have the other side of my face. I am with VBOC, as Michelle said, Veterans Business Outreach Center. We are of the Dakotas, so we serve both North Dakota and South Dakota. We specialize in serving those that are veterans, military spouses, and service members in starting and growing their business as well. So that is what we do. And these two other wonderful ladies you see on the screen today, we do a lot of collaborating and working together to help you start, grow, or manage your small business. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Wendy. And if you could put your contact information in the chat. Wendy is here as a resource as well to help with one-on-one business advising in either state. And so I would like to introduce Marcella Hurley and Lisa Clausen from the SBA. Marcella is in Sioux Falls today. She is the lender relations specialist with the SBA. And Lisa is going to be joining us as
walking in the door.
It is live. Hey, Lisa. Lisa is a business opportunity specialist at the SBA. And what we're going to be talking about today is Marcella and Lisa are going to give a short update of what's happening, and then I'm here to answer your questions. So please, again, put those in the chat, and this is your time. We are recording today's session, so everyone who is registered will have access to this recording. So I'd like to turn it over to Marcella and Lisa. Thank you, ladies.
Okay, I'm going to start with PPP and give Lisa a minute to catch her breath. This is a nonstop day for us, as it is for most lenders and borrowers, because today at 11:59 Eastern Time is the cutoff time for PPP loan applications for lenders to enter them into the system. So if you are working with a lender who has already cut off their deadline and you are interested in finding another lender, do feel free to call around and find a lender because they are still processing. God bless them. Today, I'll just give you a little update. As of 6/29, we have entered nationwide over 4,700,000 loans for over $518 billion with an average loan of $108,000. In South Dakota, we've entered 22,162 loans with over $1.6 billion and an average $74,852 per loan. So that's pretty much in keeping with what was happening before. We're right on target. There is still money there, and the deadline for the lender to load up that application and get you an application number and approval by SBA is 11:59 Eastern Time today. So updates on 7A loans will also, beyond the PPP, we do have some great SBA Express loans for working capital and small asset purchases, and 7A loans, and they will be covered on a 7A Connect call, which is available to LRSs, lender relations specialists across the nation, as well as lenders. And so if you are working with a lender, or if you're a lender on the call, that has been rescheduled to July 14th, and we posted, I believe Michelle is posting that registration, the web link to register. So feel free to do that, and they should be able to give us a really nice update on SBA and 7A. If you are working with the lender, or if any borrowers have questions, feel free to contact us at any rate. And if you're working with the lender, your lender is free to contact us as well. So would you like to update the EIDL? We've got some responses from Burl Kelton, as well as, I'm shutting my thing down for a second, as well as some EIDL advance information. Do you want to take that?
Sure.
All right.
Under the EIDL, or the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, those are direct funds through SBA. Once the loan documents are prepared, there can be no changes. So the applicant will receive what's called a portal or an email, and they log in and they see their information, and they sign electronically their closing documents. And yeah, I've received a few phone calls where the applicant is no longer interested in receiving the loan. So we have the address to where those funds can be returned to in Denver, Colorado, if that is necessary. If not, it's a 30-year term with 3.75% interest, or 2.75% for nonprofits. So there's some specific information if they are going to return the funds that need to be added with their check, such as their business name and the borrower name, tax ID, and application number, just specific information to them.
And we're
And
gonna go ahead and
I can type the address.
Oh, and Lisa, we'll go ahead and put in the process if people do want to return the EIDL loan. We're going to put
Okay.
that in the chat here, but then we will also put that in the Facebook event.
Okay. Okay. Thank
So,
you.
but please continue that, because we have had some questions where people have received the EIDL loan, but are a little wary of using it or what to use it for. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Sure. The EIDL fund should be used for, they can use it for payroll, but not for the same payroll time frame as if for the if you would receive the PPP loan funds. So maybe use up the PPP loan funds for your payroll first, because there's a time deadline on that. And then you can use it for payroll. Any fixed expense you would have, like a mortgage payment or some sort of a payment to a supplier, maybe you could not make due to lost income, lost sales. Anywhere where your business has been affected, as far as where you couldn't pay or make a payment for to a supplier because of lost sales or lower sales than normal.
One question we did have in regards to an EIDL loan is husband and wife owned construction company. They would like to consolidate several equipment loans into one loan, and wondering if they could use the EIDL for that, or should they look at a 7A or another loan program. So if you could talk a little bit about that.
Sure. The EIDL loan program was not designed to basically refinance other loans to get a lower interest rate. So if you are looking to do that, you should maybe look into a 7A for working capital through a lender. And right now, SBA is offering a pretty good deal through their 7A loan program, where you can get 6 months subsidized payments and 6 months deferred. And Marcella, do you have anything to add to that?
That's good.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay.
No, that's great. So a 6 months subsidized. So what does that mean?
It means SBA will essentially make 6 months of payments for you. And that is good through the end of September or until the funds run out.
Okay, so that is for a 7A. So basically you get 6 months of the monthly payments paid for, and then another 6 months deferred? So really you're
Yes,
looking at a
yes.
year.
Correct.
Okay. And then if someone is interested in a 7A, what is the process to do that?
They should visit with a lender. And I typically suggest a lender where they have a business account or where they're familiar with the lender that they typically work with. We can't suggest a specific lender to work with. So maybe where they already have a bank account and they're familiar with their credit history and your business.
Excellent. That is great. Thank you so much. One thing I would like to mention is I'm not able to put all of the content for how to return idle funds if people are interested in doing that. So we will post that in the event, in the Facebook event at facebook.com/SDCEO. So we will post that in there. I will go ahead and put a link here. There's a limit on what I can post in the chat. So
Yeah.
we will make sure that you have that information though, and that process that needs to be completed.
Yeah, but I always tell the borrowers who did receive the EIDL funds, maybe you want to just start making payments. Maybe you will need those funds in the future. The term is so good that the payments are probably pretty low, and maybe you want to make sure that you want to return them. Maybe you want to just wait and there's no penalty for prepayment. So make sure that you're making the right decision there if you want to return those funds.
So in that situation, perhaps like 6 to 8 months out, someone could still be deciding whether they wanted to return it or not. There's no penalty of just holding on to those funds.
Correct. There's no prepayment penalty.
Okay.
And who knows? I mean, we just don't know. I see other states are pushing back as far as the full reopening plan, and I don't see that happening here, but we just don't know. We have no idea. So, you might want to make sure that you really are not going to need those funds in the future, and you can certainly hold on to them and prepay it down the road.
Right. So if someone has not applied for either an EIDL advance or an EIDL loan, they can still do that now, right?
Yes, the portal is still open at sba.gov/disaster. And essentially the advance is part of the loan request. There's a box that you can check that you're interested in the up to $10,000 advance. It amounts to $1,000 per employee. It is forgivable. So it's not two different requests. It's one request. And the loan application is about 4 or 5 pages. It's very, very easy to fill out. It doesn't take very long. They ask for cost of goods sold and revenue for last year, or up until, well, the last time I looked at it was through the end of January 2019, I believe, was the date. So I filled it out in just a few minutes, just to see what it was like. I didn't hit submit, of course, and after you do hit submit, make sure and please write down your application number. It's going to start with a 3, several digits long. I believe it's 12. Is it 12 digits long? And what the disaster office has been saying is that applicants have not been very careful as far as inputting your EIN number, your routing number for your checking account, savings account, or wherever you would like the funds to go. And the name of the account needs to line up with your name of your business account. They just want to make sure everything is legit and not fraudulent. So make sure everything is accurate. Take your time filling out this information, because it only costs more time for both you and the disaster office to try and get this information corrected if you make a mistake. And
So
don't fill out the application again. It will just be thrown out as a duplicate. Just try and get it corrected if you do happen to make a mistake. But like I said, take your time, fill out the application, make sure everything lines up with the name of the company, with the name of the checking or savings account you selected, with the routing number. And they're just looking for everything to be legit and line up with the names of the business and the applicant.
So if someone has submitted that and has not heard back, they don't really get a notification that there's something wrong, or they wouldn't know. What if someone has submitted and they have not heard back nor received funds, what would you recommend?
Well, first thing that they will receive is the advance, and SBA will not send you an email saying that that money has been deposited in their account. They just need to check, and then they will work on the loan request. So if you haven't heard back in, I'd say 3 weeks or more, you can contact the Disaster Customer Service Center, and we can post that number in the chat, and just have your application number ready, and they can give you a status update.
Yep, and we did put that number in there, and that is really
Okay.
to check on the status for either an EIDL advance or an EIDL loan. So,
Okay.
and it's just a reminder that the EIDL advance could magically show up into your business checking account. So do keep an eye on that.
Yes, the idea behind the advance is to get some funds out to the business as soon as they can, and then work on their loan request.
Gotcha. Are there any specific requirements for what an EIDL advance can be used for?
They really haven't given real specific information on that, but I would document everything. I guess I'd keep it in line with what the EIDL loan funds are to be used for, like I discussed earlier, whether it's the advance or the actual loan.
And it's just a reminder to document everything, right?
Yeah,
This
we
is
have no
so
idea
important.
what IRS will be asking for when it comes tax time.
Awesome, thank you. And if you do have questions specific to an EIDL advance or an EIDL loan, feel free to put those into the chat or to the Q&A. So Marcella, the PPP, what's going on with that?
Today is the last day for entering applications with the lender. And beyond that, the next thing that will happen will be the forgiveness, and we don't have guidance on that yet. But we're waiting for guidance on that.
Gotcha. So we did have a question. If you have already received a PPP loan, can you still get an EIDL loan or advance?
Yes, one doesn't preclude the other. And
they're really in two separate lanes too,
yes,
as far as the funding sources. So Valerie, just that question, now would be the time before those EIDL funds run out is to submit an application. And that's at the SBA.gov /disaster.
Right.
Thank you.
And I did see a deadline, or until the funds run out. I seen a deadline for the EIDL loan program of the end of the calendar year. But like we all know, when the funds run out, it could be the end of that portal, and they may close it down. We just don't know, what's going to happen in the future. So if you're interested, make sure and make application as soon as possible while there are still funds available.
So if someone was approved for an EIDL loan, how could they go back and request the advance if they didn't do that? Or is there something that they could process, or someone that they could call for that?
Yeah, I think there's a link on that website to just request the advance portion on the sba.gov /disaster.
Okay.
Page.
So going back, so in the process, I don't know if I saw that. So we'll have to look at that. So just to ask for just the advance.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. So Kelly had asked that question. Kelly, if you have any issues or can't figure that out, Marcella, Lisa, I, and Wendy's contact information is going to be in the chat. Please feel free to follow up with us as well. Another just follow-up question is, how long does it take to see funds in their account? And it could be for the EIDL advance and the loan, if you could touch on that, Lisa.
Sure. Well, the advance, it varies, but I would say the advance, you would see the funds approximately, I suppose, within 2-3 weeks of application for sure. Now, it could take a little longer. before you see an email from the disaster office for your loan request. It just kind of depends on their workload. I know they're still receiving several hundred applications every day. So it depends on where you are in the queue. And I should mention that if your information does not line up, like if you provided the routing number and it doesn't line up with your business name, you'll get a decline letter. And you just need to send in for a reconsideration. There's an email address there. So you just need to provide documentation or get that name of your account changed to line up with your business name or whatever it happens to be.
Okay, so it's really the details too of just making sure that all of that is correct when you do submit the application.
Right.
Okay. Another question is, my boss wants to know what is the max you can get on an EIDL loan or advance, and are these forgivable? I know you talked a little bit about that, but if you could address that, Lisa.
Sure. For the advance, it's up to 10,000, and it depends on how many employees you have in your company, because it amounts to 1,000 per employee, and that portion is forgivable. Now, for the loan request under EIDL, the maximum is 2 million, right? 2 million. It's hard to keep all these loan programs straight. 2 million is the maximum, but they've capped it at 150,000. Initially it was 2 million, but they've capped it at 150,000 because they were running out of funds. So the advance is just what it's called. So if you claim 2 employees, or you get an advance of 2,000, and your loan request is 150,000, your loan will be 100 and could potentially be up to 148,000 because the advance was already taken off their request.
Okay,
The top.
great, thank you. And Valerie, I hope that answers your question there. And again, now is the time to answer that. Wendy, it looks like we have a question in the Q&A.
Sure do. They're asking if once they receive the PPP funds, what is the deadline for using up the funds?
Once the PPP funds are dispersed, you either have the 8-week deadline or the 24-week deadline. There's an alternate deadline for seasonality and those who are still not completely open or haven't got all their employees back in. So once the deadline is no more than 10 months, but sometime during the 8-week period or during the 24-week covered period, whichever the borrower chooses.
And then if a borrower did the initial 8-week and they do want to modify that, they would just go in and see their lender.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It has to be by the end of the calendar year, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry, Lisa, what was that?
Well, the regs say that you have 10 months from disbursement date, but you want to be sure that you either have the 8 weeks from disbursement date or the 24 weeks from disbursement date. But you don't want to wait until the 24th week because you're going to be at Christmas, and that's gonna run into some deadline trouble.
Right. And really, it's just a reminder to be in good communication with your lender through this whole process as you have questions.
Right. And as Lisa pointed out, you also want to be attentive to whatever your accountant says you need to have done by the end of the year. Whatever works best for your business.
Yeah. And what about just some general best practices for keeping these funds separate or documenting things, reporting, just in general?
In general, I would recommend, and many lenders are recommending, that their borrowers keep a separate account, especially if you're a sole proprietor. You have a separate PPP account, or if you're paying on a 2-week period, you just want, or if you're paying yourself, you might keep a separate account for your PPP account And then from that account, write a check to your business and let your business pay you like they did in 2019. So whatever you did in 2019, you want to be sure you continue to do it, but document so that you do have a tracking system. Many small businesses commingle their accounts. I wouldn't recommend it in this case, so that you have a good tracking system of how you spent the money and that you spent at least 60% for payroll purposes.
Gotcha. So what is we have a question, just the interest rate on repayment of the loan. And for the PPP, it's 1%, which is the part that's not forgivable. And then is it 3.75?
It's 3.75 for the economic injury disaster loan. And for nonprofits, it's 2.75 over 30 years.
Gotcha. So I hope that, I'm not sure exactly which program you were talking about, Valerie, but I think that covers all of them. For the EIDL, right, so that would be the 3.75 for for-profit business and 2.75 for a nonprofit. Okay, any other questions that we have Marcella and Lisa on? You know, one of the things that we've just been seeing is how we're working with businesses who are kind of rethinking their business and what they need to do to kind of move forward. Perhaps they're looking at some things to put more products online or to do some other types of options. I will throw it out there again that we do free one-on-one business advising. The SBA and all of the SBA resource partners are here to help you. So we encourage you to contact us, even if it's just a quick question. We are here to at least guide you or point you in the right direction where you can get some help. So we do a lot of cross-pollinating between us, between VBOC, between the SBA office, and between SCORE and the Small Business Development Center. So again, we're here as a resource and encourage you to, you know, if you're frustrated or not sure where to go, to please contact us. Is there, we can go ahead and finish if there's no other questions. Lisa or Marcella, do you have anything else that you'd like to leave us with, or what people should be thinking about? We will be hosting this webinar again as our open Q&A until everyone doesn't have any questions. And we still keep getting questions as the repayment process, the loan forgiveness, as we receive more guidance, we will be sending those off. So we will be doing this webinar again next week, same time, 10 o'clock Mountain and 11 Central. So Marcella or Lisa?
Thank you. We appreciate you, Michelle and Wendy, and thanks for including us.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, we will have some more information in the Facebook event, and we will make this recording available as well. Should you like to follow up with any other questions. And thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Marcella. Thanks, Wendy.
Thank
you
you.
all have a great day, and we will see you next week.
All right,
Thanks.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Did you ever see?